Down. Hey everyone, it is Keeping It Real with Jim and Nikki. And we're starting this new educational series on real estate. And our first one is buyers. And God, it's blurry. Anyway, it's with our buyers. So Jim, but before we begin that, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, my name's Jim Ritchie, and I was born and grew up on Bainbridge Island and lived in Kitsap most of my life. I live in Paulsbo right now. And last 20 years, I've been in the furniture industry. I owned a company for 14 years and then sold furniture for 7 years. And then prior to that, did mortgages for about 5 years and was in the ministry. And so, but real estate has always been something that I've really wanted to get into. And so I did. So I'm excited about it. How about you?
Well, I'm actually from Nebraska, and so I moved from Nebraska to California. And there's a point I'm going to tell you about this later. But I moved here about 24 years ago. I've had 6 kids, and I've got 3 crazy dogs, 1 cat, and I have a gland puppy. And I've been doing real estate about 7 years, and I'm with Real, and I'm loving Real. So that's where I'm at right now.
Cool.
So let's talk a little bit about what our goals are with this. So I mean, like when you bought your first house, I mean, I know when I bought my first house, I didn't know hardly anything. And I probably should have bought way before I did. What was your story like?
Well, I think that's important because one of the things I think of now is a lot of people may not think they can get into a house or prices are too much. And when I was in the 80s, I was renting a house for about a year. And then the landlord came to me and he said, "Hey, Jim, we want to sell the house." And I thought, oh, no. But he said, "We want to give you the first opportunity to buy it." And so I hadn't even thought about buying. It hadn't even entered my mind. So I went to a mortgage person and found out what my credit score needs to be, how much money I needed, and realized that I could get in on an FHA loan for 3%. So I scraped together as much money as I could and bought that house. And it was one of the greatest experiences, from not even thinking I could to buying that. And then 3-4 years later, sold it for double the price. So
Nice.
Yeah, great experience.
And you told me something really interesting is you didn't use a realtor. When you were doing this, when you told me the story before, you told me you did not use a realtor. What was that? How was that? Would you still do that today?
Well, I definitely would, because I didn't know anything about real estate at the time. I hadn't made any investments in real estate, and to have somebody represent me would be great, because I just assumed the price. Okay, I'll pay the price. And so I didn't have anybody representing me or to look at the details, look into some of the facts about the property. So yeah, I definitely would.
So you learned some lessons since you've been in real estate.
Yeah,
Good.
Absolutely. So, how about you and your experience? Because it was a good one too.
Yeah. So like I said, I moved to California in my late 20s, mid to late 20s. And my husband and I, we thought about buying a house, but we didn't even check it out. We just said, oh, it's too high. There's no way we're going to be able to afford it. And so we never did. And that was in California. And I'm just thinking, wow, just think if we'd bought a house there and sold it a couple of years ago or last year,
yeah,
it probably would have been worth a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
California. But we did move here, and I don't regret it. I love Washington State. It's amazing for kayaking. I love my kayaking. Had to get that in, didn't I?
Yeah.
Anyway,
miss it.
But yes, we bought a house about 24 years ago, and the broker, we actually just went to an open house one day, and we went to the listing broker, which again, I probably most time would say don't do. But anyway, we met him, didn't buy that particular house, so he was able to help us on the next one. And we bought another house with him, and that's actually where I started my real estate career was with him. Nice. So yeah. So but we rented for a long time. I mean, and I look back and go, what a dumb mistake. I mean, not checking. That was the biggest thing. I was like, why did I not pursue it more and check more? So one of the reasons that we're doing this, especially this talk today, is to encourage people, like sometimes you don't think you can, especially if you're renting and you're just kind of maybe barely making it or whatever. But rental prices and buying prices, the mortgages are very similar sometimes. I mean,
Very.
rents have went up so much in our area. So um, we're saying that, I'm just putting this out there. If you have kids, or you yourself are looking at buying a house and you haven't checked into it recently, it might be a really good time to do this and to follow us along and do this and share this if you know somebody else who could benefit.
Absolutely. And as Niki said, I really found that when I was moving back over to Paulsbo, I was looking at rental prices and they were the same as what a mortgage would be. So absolutely.
So all different stages, yeah. So there's a lot of benefits to buying a home versus renting.
Yeah.
You want to get into some of
I
those?
do.
All
I
right.
do.
I'll let you lead.
Yeah. Actually, when my kids wanted to come over here too, and they said, "Dad, would you help us rent a house?" I said, "I'm not really into renting. I'd rather buy." So some of the reasons are, one would be just the roots that you set down. I think the cool thing about buying is you set your roots down. That's where your kids are going to have their friends, where you're going to build friends, where some of your networking happens, maybe for your business. So setting down your roots in an area, not only that, but giving back to your community, you get really tied into your community. In fact, this week we'll be doing Toys for Tots, and the great opportunity to invest in your community when you're situated and rooted in it.
Yeah, definitely. And then I just learned something today too. There is a study that said that, if you live in like one place for a long time, obviously, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Your kids are going to be more stable because they have those friends, and they've got, whether it's a church or, community center or whatever that your connection is with that area, just your village around you in that area. But they're all super important, and their education, I mean, they get a better education because they are more stable. So it is a huge important.
Yeah, really good. I found that with my kids getting, situated in schools and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, very good. The other thing I'd mention is the equity that you build. Like I said, when I first bought that house, I had no idea that it would double in value.
Yeah.
And so the equity that I made in that, and some of you are going to be, you're not going to be in that same place for a while, but at least you got equity to take that nest egg and put it in the next place that you're going to buy.
Appreciation. Yes.
The appreciation.
And, and usually it's about 4 to 6% a year. So you get that appreciation. So your home is going up in value. And, I mean, I know it's dipped a little bit because we just kind of went through this little crazy market, but typically, I mean, historically levels, it's been about 4 to 6% a year. So I know, like, we bought our house when it was like under 200, and it's definitely over that now. So, I mean, that's just kind of a craziness. And last year was way more. I mean, we were hitting teens and 20s or whatever, I think, in some places, and probably more so throughout the country. But, so you can earn more, and it's better than the stock market. And the risk that you're going to lose is a lot lower too. I mean, usually you don't lose. 2008, 2000 or 2007, 2008 was a little bad, but. And also we also had to talk about, when you have a mortgage, though, as you were saying earlier, they're kind of the same. But with the mortgage, you're taking some of that, what you'd normally pay your landlord, and you're putting it back into your own, nest egg. You're not just, you're not just paying it all out, because you're not building up anything. So it's a great way. And a home is usually a person's, biggest asset, or, biggest investment in their lifetimes. And, yes, it's expensive, but if you're putting money towards it and investing in yourself and investing in that, usually you walk away, at the end. I mean, that's usually where most people are able to, retire and do that kind of stuff with it.
I think when I was renting, I always felt like I'm buying somebody else's house for them.
You were.
And, I thought, heck with that. I'd rather buy my own house than to buy somebody else's house for them, and they walk away with the equity. So I think the thing that we're saying is and we want to do in this series is help you with how we can get you into a house. And maybe the time isn't right, but maybe it is. And so I think the other thing that helped me, Niki, was the tax advantage. So every year, I didn't have that with rent, but all of a sudden in mortgages, when you have a mortgage, most of it is interest for the first number of years. Then you get to write that off. And so it's a huge tax advantage. So
It is. And I mean, and even having a home office, I mean, because we work from home, because our
yeah,
company is virtual. So, you get write-offs for that and stuff too. And I get to work from home a lot of times. So
I
it's
know.
awesome. And then the other thing is the fun part, which one of my favorite parts about homeownership.
Yes.
You get to have as many Wildwood's parties as you want, and you can decorate it and make it as cool or as crazy, or you can do it almost whatever you want to do. I mean, HOAs, I know sometimes have, their limitations, but if you want to make a path across your yard and have a rock path, you can do that. It's kind of cool.
In that first little home, by the way, it was like 800 square feet. It was, and we had 3 kids there. But I got to, because I grew up in construction, I love to do that kind of stuff. So I tore up the carpet and realized there's hardwood floors there. So I refinished the hardwood floors. I put a new roof on, painted the house. And it was just kind of a fun thing to get to make it what you want, like Niki said.
Yeah.
So
anyway, our goal is, again, and we hope you share this video make sure people wear this, because especially if you know somebody who's looking at buying or selling, whether or not they go with us. I mean, we just want to educate people on, kind of some things to look for, what to do. If you were my client, this is what I would be telling you. So to get some information out there, because sometimes there's such bad information. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually walk you through this process. So this is the home process to buying a home. And I didn't say that correctly, but that's okay. I can't talk some days. But pretty much you just met with the realtor. And, when you first meet with us, one of our first questions is going to be, well, how much can you afford? Because I don't do finance part. I absolutely do not do that. And I know Jim here had some mortgage experience, but that's really not our job. We do real estate. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, how much can you afford? What price range are you looking at? And you're going to say, I don't know, or I don't know, or what should I do? So we're going to refer you to a lender, and that's going to be the first step. And so who do we have coming in next week?
Yeah, Carrie Deese is coming in, and she's
Carrie Selby.
It's
okay.
Deese. Carrie Selby, and wonderful. And we both met with her, and she's just outstanding.
And she's she's with Fairway Mortgage, just so everybody knows, and they do an amazing job. They've worked with several of my clients, so super excited to have her on here.
And even though I did mortgages, for 5 years, there's new programs all the time, and I'm not always up on those. She is, and so she's outstanding. You'll enjoy.
Yeah, and so there's some programs you can walk in with 0 down, or a small percentage down. So there's all kinds of really amazing programs out there, but we're going to start slow, and we're going to just tell you basic information. So hang on tight. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, although we're very excited about this, and we are going to bring her in next week. So this is going to be every Wednesday
at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
And so send questions. If you've got questions, send them in to us so that we can answer them for you, or we can ask Carrie, whatever it might be. How do I work on my credit score? Whatever it might be.
And also, please share. I mean, I know, people who are going to be moving or looking at buying, I didn't tell you this part of it, but I'm going to add this on here. So I've got, my son's 26 now, but I think about 2 years ago, he was like, Mom, I think I want to buy a house someday. And one of the first things I did was have him meet with one of my lenders, and just to get advice on what to start doing and looking forward and planning for. And he still has not bought a house yet, but he did talk to me, got some really great information. He will eventually at some point. And so a lot of the lenders I know are even willing to sit down with your kids and do that. So if you've got kids in that age range, definitely have them reach out to us, because we would love to be able to help.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the thing with that is that I really do think so many people look at how expensive homes are and just give up. And it's worth, maybe you can't right now, but we'll help you with how you can and what to prepare for, just like you said with your boy. So
we are keeping it real.
Keeping it real with
Jim
Niki
and
Jim.
Okay, everybody, have a great day.
Have a super day. Carrie.